It's Wednesday, yo. It's on cooldown time. You know, it's on cooldown time.
And it's on me on cooldown. What?
News, opinion pieces, all of that jazz. We talk about the game, certain specs, certain situations, certain systems, certain mechanics, or news. Not a lot of news this week. A lot of nerfs to the bosses and all of that stuff.
Like a couple of buffs, though. A couple of buffs to classes as well. But I mean, everybody knows that. But what's more important is to talk about the fun in WoW.
Is it gone? Is it still here? What is fun in WoW in 2022? What is not fun? But you know what always is fun?
Haha, our merch, by the way, it actually came. You see us wear it. This is what we've been talking about for a while. We've been actually waiting for these to come, but we do have a new merch platform with Public, and you can check the link down below. You'll find these designs and more there, especially made with the.
You know what's this? Do you recognize this?
Can you read the text there? It's probably a little bit too
low. You can have it. You can have it, man. You can have it. Check the link in the description after you watch the video. It's a big way to support us, big way to support the channel, and you also get some cool stuff out of it. Oh, by the way, let me show you the back as well. You guys see the back?
Nope. It's the chair, man.
God damn it, shit. All right. How about now?
Look at that.
That's how you represent, baby. All right, enough plugging. Shit, enough plugging. Let's go.
Right, let's go. Let's talk about fun.
Okay, so generally, a game should be fun, right? This is why we play games, you know, to kill time, to have fun. I mean, sure, it can stimulate intellectual abilities, it can stimulate mechanical abilities, you know, reflexes and stuff like that, you know, and some games have that going for them more than others, depending on the difficulty, you know, the mechanics went into it. But focusing on World of Warcraft, I think the most important aspect of it, first of all, is it fun. And sure, we're gonna dive into it a lot more, but there are a lot of zones within the game currently in the present day where fun has been ripped out and replaced with some nasty evolving disease that hopefully will be cleansed at some point in the future. Let's get right into it.
At least we're kind of going into the right direction with 9.2, but there's still a ways to go. Oh yeah. And as always, the way we talk about it is the first interaction that you have with the game is through your class and your spec in particular, and this is a gray area because certain spec, I mean, we can talk about fun. Fun is obviously subjective, but we can simply talk about what has created the fun before, and it can be cool spells, good damage, or tanky, or healiness, or whatever you play. It can be fun animations, it can be cool sound effects as well, and some specs kind of deliver like that. We can say enhancement is maybe one of the good specs that has been having really awesome visual and sound effects, but the damage was lacking, and now with the buffs is kind of good, but there are other specs that kind of fall short around that, and that's probably due to how Legion was introduced and kind of like chopped down what each spec was, and now with the unpruning and stuff, it's kind of a little bit different this time around. So
Legion kind of redefined the fantasy and identity of a lot of the specs, although I would say general this is a plus in the fun department for World of Warcraft. Even to the current day, I mean, WoW is second to none when it comes to like the feel of every class and spec you play. You could not like how a rogue delivers its animations, but for some people that's really cool. I love how deep the animations and sounds and viscerality feels on a warrior or a paladin, right?
It's charged.
This is something they always nailed down, and it is part of the biggest fun factor. So I'm thinking a lot of people are still playing the game due to their specs and classes. Granted, they have been gutted through external powers and been nerfs and mechanics and bugs and all of that. This is why you would see that over the years, present or modern day WoW has been really problematic when it comes to the community's requests for alts. People play a lot of alts in WoW because the specs and classes are really fun, and apart from, you know, discovering new territory on playing a brand new spec, it's just the feel of it. I don't think like you could say 100% for any of the specs that it sucks in terms of like how they feel, look, and deliver. And this is, I would say, generally a plus sign on it. The bad news is that these specs and the fun that comes with them is usually, or are usually, kind of gutted because of all of the external influences that require that spec to be fully functional, right? So I would say that 10.0 would probably get back to that more, at least from certain interviews and, you know, hints, wink wink. it would be a coming back to the core pleasure of playing your spec and class rather than the core, I would say, wheel mouse running around, you know, hamster wheel gameplay loop that you have to do to make your class functional once again. This is something I would say hopium, but it is being hinted at as well. Other parts of the fun in modern day WoW are world quests, which I think this is the biggest minus so far since they were introduced. They were a really cool alternative for dailies. I think that was like the main purpose of them, although we still have dailies. We kind of like to disclaim this. 9.2 is, I would say, a outlier. 9.2 is really good on all departments when we start to talk about, you know, world stuff and outdoor activities and zones and stuff. But generally, world quest always felt bland, boring, and too many. Generally, not in Zereth Morton. It's not in 9.2. They should have like delivered some sort of way to accomplish a bigger thing. Like could think about reputation, could think about some sort of resources. Although I hate the fact that we have so many resources. This is another minus for the fun department. Too many goddamn resources for everything. But generally, I feel right now they're pretty decent. Like 2 or 3 world quests per day. This also allows them to have more diversity in between them, although you can see the limitations right about now, since like it's been like you know, a couple of months or a month or so since the patch released. You can see that they don't have that many, but it's fresh that every day there's something different to be played on in terms of world quests.
I think with the world quests, we can talk about a little bit about the world that they are in, because they do kind of tie in, or at least they do have to tie in into the zone. So for instance, we're talking about Zereth Mortis as an example, because in the last couple of years, world quests have been a little bit lackluster, and you can probably have a situation where you had BFA, or Legion rather, where you just go through like dozens of world quests a day because they're like super quick, or you can have a more toned down version of BFA, which is a little bit too much in the middle, not exactly where you have to be. But I think like Zereth Mortis right now is really good because they tie in with the zone. You have puzzles in a puzzly area, you have in a very crowded area with like what are those, the ravenous hunters dudes, you just kill a bunch and stop portals. So and it's only like 1 or 2. It's thematic. The zone has a couple of thematic places in it, and the world quest kind of aligned to it. Instead of kill 10 of whatever boars in this side and ostriches in the other side, that's just boring. Having a puzzle here and there, helping an NPC there and there, I think the world quests are nice. Give them a little bit of personality and have some rewards as well, so that the time investment can be justified. So in terms of that, I think they're on a right track with how they're designing Zereth Mortis, the zone itself, plus the world quest going in through it, and especially the story, let's say, taking apart the actual story, which again is another thing that we can discuss about being fun or not. Having the progression of the zone, whether or not you like the story or not, it's kind of cool. You go from liberating that part and that part and that part and moving your way towards the raid, which was similar-y in terms of construction as Suramar was, because you were building up towards getting into Nighthold, but the actual content itself is a little bit lackluster. So maybe in this situation, they've kind of backed themselves into a corner with how the story of Shadowlands had to be, so there's not much to work with. But if they take, let's say, the skeleton of the story and the zone and how they're progressing, that's okay. Just put like actual cool characters and good dialogue and progression and see all of that thing, and I think that can go into a place where people can say, oh, I'm logging in to have some fun doing my world quest or doing the campaign and the story.
Yeah, generally the community perception when it comes to world quests is pretty bad, and we kind of feel the same way. It's not, they're not fun. Yeah, sure, 9.2 delivered much better on them, but I think there's still a lot of potential over there to make them like really worth it and have some sort of huge impact on the game, because you have to realize, and this kind of segues into the next aspects of fun within WoW, there's a lot of people who play solo. Even though it's an MMO, I think Blizzard kind of pushed a lot of the solo gameplay through the years and incentivized it through a lot of their additions to the game. And world quests are a really big part of that solo gameplay. Now, talking about dungeons and raids. Okay, starting off with raids, we kind of all know they've always delivered on that. It's kind of like the bread and butter for World of Warcraft. Raids are usually fun. you can talk about specific bosses not being fun. Sure, that's always the case, but as a general feel, like when you
overall rating is as a content, pretty much everybody agrees that they're kind of nailing. Mechanically, thematically, we can discuss the theme, but that kind of falls into the story aspect of stuff.
Yeah, but you always have fun, you know, finishing a raid. Okay, again, you can.
We probably should mention Sanctum having a few too many stop your damage type mechanics.
That's shit. Yes, that is shit.
I don't know if there's people who like that. I understand that I was like, oh, we can take a little bit of break, you know. But I mean, the boss fights usually lasts anywhere from like 4 minutes if you're really geared to, let's say, 8 minutes at the very most.
Yeah.
If it's a long fight, if those 8 minutes is, I mean, it's having to stop for like 30 seconds. Yeah, think of Painsmith or Sylvanas.
I think it just was, it counteracted to the purpose they had of having a breather, because it felt like, man, why do I have to do this now? It's such a break, because the thing is, when you're in it and you're raiding it for so long, you get the vibe and the rhythm of it. At that point, you're in your super 100% parse rotation or whatever. Stop DPS. Well, fuck that. Yeah, it doesn't feel right.
The thing,
it's not fun.
The problem with that is that when you add stop DPS mechanics, or intermissions rather, they always either come at a specific time after like 1 minute or 2 minutes after starting the fight, or at a certain percentage of the boss itself. The problem with that is that the specs themselves are not designed equally. Some specs have a 1 minute cooldown, 2 minute cooldown, 3 or 5 minute cooldown. So whatever you choose, at least I don't know, 2 to 3 DPS specs will not like the intermission, because their cooldowns will not align with the time frame. So when the devs make that kind of an intermission, they will always make certain specs suffer, because not everyone has the same amounts of flow to their damage profile. So I think that's maybe one of the biggest issue, because you know, you have Havocs who would prefer no intermissions whatsoever, or Boomies who kind of want an intermission like once every 2 to 3 minutes.
Because they benefit a lot more correct. Yeah. It's again, if it's almost impossible to make it applicable to everybody in the game, obviously. And if it's that, you know, beneficial for others but so janky for others, just remove it. Overall, I don't feel this is a fun addition to the raids.
I think the only, and I want to specify this, the only difference in intermissions or phases that would require you to either do something different. The best example that they did so far is, if you remember Castle Nathria, Stone, whatever, the dude that charged the pillars.
I remember that. That was cool. Yeah.
What was cool about that is it did that every minute. So every 1 minute. So if you had a 1 minute cooldown, you would be very happy. If you have a 2 minute cooldowns, you would do really good damage every second pillar. 3 minute cooldowns, you would probably do 2.
It was kind of perfect. Yeah.
First, maybe last pillar. So it kind of aligned the best with the most amount of types of DPS, because every DPS had a cooldown for at least one of those pillars.
Yes, true. Also in the fun categories, in general, we can talk about dungeons and the Mythic Plus scene, and again, this stretches out to arenas as well. This is the type of fun that you would normally have when you would have a team or a guild or people to play with. When it comes to like solo stuff, there's not much that can be done through it. I mean, heroic dungeons, come on, it's not, you know, plug-in Mythic Plus, it's a pain still, because everybody wants meta. LFR, I mean, come on, it's an interesting addition to have people to catch up with the story or whatever and get access to some, I would say, tiers. That's useful, but other than that, the experience is not fun usually. And when talking about arenas, the solo queue thing, you know, they started off with the latest Brawl edition. You know, it's a start, but I still believe that is like the best way you can help out solo players. Arenas are fun, no doubt, and if you have like a proper team and you don't really necessarily want to be like super gladiator, maybe you're just fine with like some 2K or 1800 push, that's gonna be fun. Once you get past that, you'll start fighting only rogue and mages, and it doesn't become fun. Mythic Plus.
You know what I'm thinking? That something that can fix, because I've been having chats with people on our stream about, you know, how hard it is to find the group or how hard it is to do their keys. Yeah. There's you know, more to unpack here in terms of the overall community perception of having accessibility into the content and actually having a social group to do content with. But I feel like one thing that they could do is something that League of Legends does. After every match, you can rate a player. only on the positive side. Oh, this you have the league GG, whatever.
Yeah. Love playing with this player. Good shot caller, keep their cool. Stuff
and
like
you can have something like that at the end of a key, for instance, and probably at the end of the arena as well. Yeah. Oh, this guy did a lot of damage. This guy interrupted a lot. This guy healed us. This guy had a really good tanking skill or whatever, and that can probably be shown into the group finder as opposed to the raider score. So you can see somebody's like, oh, this guy is like 1000 IO. I want somebody better, but he kind of gets all of the kicks done and he does good damage. So like, oh, maybe I want somebody that can actually play the class. Maybe that will be more indicative of how good of a player is, rather if he's playing a meta or not, because that can impact. And I did want to mention something specific when it comes to Mythic Plus, and arenas have this as well. We don't have enough content. The Mythic Plus scene was devised in Legion as an experiment, but it wasn't built on appropriately because it's a seasonal content, but every season we only get one seasonal affix. There's not much of a replayability factor. And what they're doing right now, which is actually really cool, it's gonna come later into the year with the season 4. That is the first step into a very good direction, and again points out to what we're kind of trying to say here with the videos, like fun aspects are being improved upon. And having like
right now it's kind of gone for a lot of the
it's stale at the very least.
Stale or missing or but looking towards what they're actually doing and planning for the future, steps are being taken to improve it. And I want to get back to what you said about the ranking system. That is, I think, one of the best things they could add in order to enhance the fun for people who are struggling or playing solo to
also
get into
incentivize people playing right. And
same thing can be put into arenas, and I think they have this on other games. They have it for Overwatch, if I'm not mistaken, some sort of thing like this where people vote.
Think so.
There's something that they're not like foreign to this concept. And yes, Raider.io score, or the dungeon score, it's too general, right? And it can evolve, being boosted or not. It's a different
version of eye level.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. You need more specific things in order to have big players. Because listen, if you're really, really shit and you cannot do what is required of you to do within a plus whatever key, then yes, that would make sense for you to have a hard time getting into groups. However, in the majority of cases, people play their specs and do their jobs to the best of their ability, but still, if they're not meta, they're not get in. This is the big problem. So that solution is really cool. It would enhance the fun you would perceive and feel when you are a solo player or a two-man group and try to go into pucks for dungeons and arenas. Other things that are fun in WoW, the mounts are always cool when they're not in the store shop.
I think what they did was how they created the collection tab is okay. They could obviously improve it because I have like 200 mounts and I want that specific one, but I cannot remember the name and I have to like scroll. And I know people have like thousands or whatever.
Yeah, there's filters.
They could improve the UI to make collectibles like they did with transmogs. I think one thing that they can improve upon this to make it more fun is reward it more in content rather than player power. And because you have
than player power and the store.
Because let's say you would like to have like a bunch of mounts, but when you think about, I have to farm that rare for 30 years to get that mount, that's a little bit but if you think, I want to do this, let's say Mage Tower for red, I want to be one of the best reds on the server, and you get like a specific really cool mount. Yeah,
that indicates that you put in the effort.
Yeah, like prestigious cosmetics, that would be cool.
We've been talking about this for so many videos. It's something that they show. They have such a big opportunity to put this like in the collectible tab, right? Like mounts, pets, transmogs, and all of that. If you would put the effort in those rather than external power and the fucking store shop, it would be such a great. I honestly believe, maybe I'm naive, but if they would shift their focus and effort and creativity into this collectibles, right? Something you can wear, something you can mount, something you can like brag off with. I really think a lot more people would be playing the game. I really do so.
I don't want to constantly bring this example up, but League of Legends is a good example again on this side as well, because you have the skins, right?
Oh yeah.
And I mean, the game is free, but people pay so much money for skins because they want to be recognized. They want to be they want to be basically, they want to stand out. People want to stand out. Very few people are actually fine. I mean, some people just want to sit back and be chill and not get a lot of attention. But some people want, like, man, I really like playing Vayne. I really want to look good when I play Vayne. I want people to see all of that stuff. So I think that's a good thing. So that just shows how important cosmetics can be, and if you add them under a level of prestige, that can also incentivize people to actually do the content, or to become, you know, better at doing the content, like Mage Star or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, customizability for your character, which you invested so much time in, is really important, and WoW really lacks in that department. They did have a lot of additions to the race customization, you know, adding a lot of more features and stuff, but I feel like the really important, I mean, again, when you gain the fun element of it is, okay, all of the content that you do, regardless of you play solo within guilds or, you know, tight friends or whatever, they always have this sort of like prestigious or a collectible thing over there, rather than always being some sort of power related thing. It's something that would definitely enhance the fun, and it's lacking right now.
You know what they could do? They could do, let's say, I don't know if you've played any of the heritage quests, but they can do something like that. Let's say for orcs, and you do like a quest like, oh, let's save that veteran from and heal his wounds, and then you get like a new battle tattoo or whatever, or war paints.
Yeah,
they could unlock stuff like that as well, and they can add those either into like a world quest type concept or into the New Zereth Mortis. Oh, you go assault the invading Maw Sworn from the jailer, and after you complete that quest, you get a new hairstyle or whatever. They can do that kind of stuff. So I feel like this is not necessarily like super out of the box thinking. It's definitely a possibility that they can take. And now that they're constantly hiring people, that's a good thing. Who knows what we can expect.
They're hiring, but they're also having some problems retaining people. I know there was an article there where but that's a different topic. We'll get there. Let's not get into that. I think we should definitely talk about, again, this involves casual players and solo players as well, the story and the quests that are coming along with that story. Now, I don't know how many of you remember when Shadowlands launched. I think I can speak for Flame as well. Like the beginning of each expansion is really exciting, because obviously you don't know what's ahead. You kind of speculate or whatever, but usually they put in a lot of effort to make you go, wow, oh, shit. I feel they always have done this and then just drop the ball. The story at this point, we're not going to get into it, the Shadowlands story, okay? We can all agree it's pretty shit, but what I feel it's missing, it's the fact that they've separated the story into too many avenues, and I feel the very core concept of having fun within the story and playing the quest in WoW is having it being available and developing all throughout the game, right? So there's bits of stories within the dungeons you go through. There's bits of stories within the world quests and regular quests you go through. There's a bit of story within the raids you go through. Pretty hard to do it in a PvP, but I can think of something over there as well. Plus, a bit of story within your, I would say, innermost circle, like how they did in Legion with the artifacts. Obviously toned down because that was the main feature, but some sort of class spec thing that would deliver a story and quests that would make your spec or class relevant to the big plot, and then evolve it from there, rather than relying so much on cinematics, which are cool, but I feel we need more story with us in the center of it, playing it, books, and a lot of missing plots.
You know, when I think about this, as shit as the story in Shadowlands is, the one that I really like a lot is the Venthyr campaign. Obviously, everybody has their favorite Venthyr campaign, but I feel like the Venthyr campaign has an interesting pacing to it, because you start from the Sinfall Order Hall, then you go talk to the nobles, and there's like a noble area with like balls and stuff.
Balls?
Balls, man.
Balls to you.
I cannot pronounce the word, but it has an interesting spacing, and every now and again between key parts of the quest of the story you have like little cutscenes.
Yes.
Like that can be cool, but I don't have to find the Venthyr story anywhere else. I don't have to look anywhere else. I'm done. That's also cool, and this is kind of how they did it with the class campaigns in Legion. I think that's maybe one of the best iterations of, let's say, not gated, but segregated stories, because, you know, if you were a DK, you wouldn't know what the Paladin story is unless you played a Paladin. So that would incentivize playing alts. And the thing is, there was more or less no barriers into doing that. You just have to log in. You didn't have to grind your weapon with the artifact power to be able to do the story. You could just do the story, so there's no gating. And
it made sense. It added to the general plot of the big story. It was incorporated.
Now you have you had the Covenant gating at the start, right? You could do a Necrolord if you were a Kyrian, but if you wanted to go play back the Kyrian,
cool. I'll give you that. But as opposed to the artifact questing, right, and being tied up to the main plot, the Night Fae campaign ended nowhere. It was just, why did we do this? There was no logical sense for it. It ended nowhere. It ended like with nothing. So this is what I'm saying. Individually, we can talk about the Covenant stories being interesting, and yes, I agree. Venthyr had a lot of character as well. It's just that
one was interesting. It's not that they're interesting.
Yeah, I kind of find them all. I really love the Night Fae campaign as well. I love the Bastion one with the discovering all of the secrets and the judgments and all of that. Necrolord, I haven't finished it to my shame, but that's not the point. The point is, as opposed to the artifact things, and I can think of some other examples in the past where you start off like within your more intimate, more impactful story on your character that has to tie in naturally and organically to the main plot, to the main events that are to come. It didn't really feel this way in BFA because there wasn't really that much intimate, like you centering the storyline. It didn't feel really that much in Shadowlands either. Legion had this going for it, no problemo. Now, this is a very tall mountain to climb. I know, it's like delivering the main story, make it interesting with characters and whatever, then having your class or spec thing, questing, having, flow in through that. I know it's a tall order. We're just like talking about, okay, what would be fun? Because we have to keep in mind, folks that are playing solo or that are finding difficulty joining groups and guilds or whatever. This is like the main thing for them. Sure, you can have people that are going back into like doing raids for Transmog Bronze or whatever, or leveling new characters and finding out the stories from previous expansions. That is there. But we're talking about fresh new content, right? We're talking about getting the fun, the fun back in WoW to as many avenues as possible within the game. And I feel story and questing is a big part of that. They really up their game expansion by expansion looking back. And
in terms of their tools, like the way I mean, we can talk about the cinematics and how they portray character emotions. That's
really,
actually
really cool.
Really big upgrade.
Yeah.
And obviously we can debate the how good the story is or how complete the story is. But mostly what I wanted to make sure is that what I personally didn't find fun is when the story was locked behind the wall. And the wall initially was it was either like a long track of story or the fact that with the Covenants being locked at the beginning. So we also had a video about time gating, all that stuff, and you can check it on our channel. I'm not gonna go through that as well, but they did it right with Legion, and so we can bring Suramar all day long.
Suramar is the best example,
And I think that was the best example of gated story because you could only access like a few chapters per week. But the thing is,
9.2 did it well, did it good as well. It's still improvements to be done, but I feel 9.2 gating for the story kind of felt
that was okay. So
right pacing for it.
Whether you like the Pelagos ending or the
I don't like the story necessarily, but just the mechanic of exactly. It felt the best in terms of like everything they trying to lock down behind chapters and stuff in Shadowlands. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it didn't feel clunky or I would say like late. Shadowlands, the beginning of Shadowlands, it just felt really weird, and sometimes it didn't really align with what was happening within the raids and other parts of the story. It felt all over the place. Now it kind of like felt more tied up.
I think it's because they did so. Essentially, the Venthyr campaign was the mini Suramar of the expansion because it led into going into Castle Nathria. It explained why you're going to Castle Nathria. The problem with it was that it was locked only to Venthyrs, and other people couldn't do it. They didn't continue that with all the other zones. Like we probably expected like a Maldraxxus raid or something like that because Maldraxxus had a lot of tie-ins with Venthyr, and that never happened. Right? We went to a different place, and okay, that's fair. But I feel like if the Covenants would have been unlocked from the beginning, and you could have said, all right, I did this. I'm going going into Nathria. Let me see what the deal is with the vent here. That would have been cool.
Yes,
but
that would be fun.
That would have also hit another problem, which hopefully we're not going to see this again in 10.0, is that once Shadowlands was launched, you had way too much stuff to do. You had to finish your Covenant campaign, you had to get your conduits, you had to level your renown, you had to do Soul Ash from Torghast, and you had to actually get the gear from raid, PvP, or dungeons, whatever you wanted to do. So
the fun, is WoW fun? Is the fun gone out of WoW? In a lot of avenues, it is gone, and it has been replaced by such things like external power, grinding external power within
carrots on a stick.
A lot of carrots on a stick, yes. You know, gating, which is not always healthy. Reputation in some aspects of it as well. Limiting resources that you would need. Adding a lot of resources. So there's a lot of avenues where the fun has been drained because of these things. On the other hand, there's still a lot of avenues where WoW is still fun. I still love doing the raids and Mythic Plus. It's one of the jams. Arenas are also fun. Again, if you're not going into that super meta thing where just a rogue mage over there. Collecting stuff is still really cool. There's still a lot of stuff to be collected and to be added within your wardrobe or mount collection or pet collection or whatever. And also the premise of, at least the premise, Hopium coming in again, the premise of a lot of changes coming into 9.2.5 and 10.0 kind of indicate that we are to be at least at ease with some aspects.
We're at the cusp of breaking the mold a little bit, because the formula has kind of been kept the same ever since Legion, which Legion was a good addition because it changed things, but ever since then it's kind of been more of the same. So with the Season 4, which is something that's going to be exciting, they have never done that before. So they taking risks can earn great rewards. So I'm really hoping that the game is going to be fun. There are, like you said, a couple of aspects that are still fun for the game. And
more. We're gonna probably do another one like this, like a part 2 where we go into a little bit more mechanical stuff and the comfy zone or whatever. There's a lot of points here, but just not to make this like a podcast video.
It could have been a podcast.
Yeah, for sure. We're gonna cut it off here and ask you guys, what do you find fun in World of Warcraft, and what you don't have. What you don't have find fun.
That's it. It's English. It's fine.
Sorry.
More coffee needed.
Yeah. So just let us know where is the fun gone? Is it completely gone? And where do you still find it at least?
Yeah, definitely.
You know what's always fun?
Patreon supporting the channel, because we are masters of segue. We do want to say thank you, dear Patrons, for supporting these types of videos, which are opinion pieces. Whenever big news comes up, you'll be sure that we will cover that as well. We're doing spec guides as well. We're doing podcasts. We're doing streams.
TLFs.
And all sorts of cool stuff, TLFs as well, which you will see in a day or two, depending on when you watch this video. Yes. So thank you very much for supporting the channel, dear viewer. If you also want to be a part of the team, what do they have to do, man?
They have to look in the description now, and first of all, check the link to the merch, see if there's anything cool they like there. And secondly, there's the link to the Patreon. There's different tiers over there. If you want to join, select the tier and enjoy the rewards. Thank you for watching the video. See you
next time
on Friday with TLF. Bye!
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classic or retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.